Aloha everyone, welcome. I'm Abaya and I'm overjoyed to be practicing with you today. A couple of lovely ways to set yourself up are to spread out a blanket over your yoga mat. So the yoga mat is still here, but the blanket provides some extra support and nourishment. And we also need a long, skinny rolled up blanket for our massage sequence in the beginning of class. We'll continue our exploration of bringing more awareness to the pelvic floor. We'll be adding in some extra awareness of our breathing and our rib cage, and we're celebrating Rudi's birthday. So we'll finish our class with some chanting and extra heart practice. On Ashram Holidays, there's a lot of energy available. So congratulations, you're here. That means you are able to soak in all the good energy that's available. And we'll start with some centering so we can be totally present and in that absorptive space. To begin, turn to your left and come onto your belly. The roll will be there and you can place it wherever is comfortable. I like having it underneath my chest for a little extra support, but feel free to wiggle up, wiggle down, and find where it's most supportive for you. And then stack the hands elbows wide, forehead to hands. And we'll start with breathing. And first take a moment to land, feeling the weight of the feet, the tops of the feet gently grazing your blanket. Let the hips relax. Notice what it feels like to have the little extra support of the blanket underneath the chest. And then the contact between forehead and hands. As we breathe, the diaphragm naturally pushes down towards the pelvis on the inhale and rises up away from the pelvis on the exhale. And the pelvic floor in a healthy body mirrors that same movement. So the base of your core gently pushes down on the inhale and rises up on the exhale. And you do not need to do it or to control it. Our goal is really to just bring awareness to the base of the core and just start noticing perhaps a lack of movement, or maybe it prefers the lifted position or the released position, and our goal is for it to do both well. So without any judgment, just begin witnessing the breath, having that little extra attention on the movement of the diaphragm and then the parallel that's occurring at the base of the pelvis. And I invite you to relax your breath and let it be as natural as possible. Sometimes when we focus on the breath, we increase it or we change it or we direct it. And the more you can relax here and allow the breath to be natural, the more the diaphragm and the pelvic floor will start to do their natural work beyond the control, beyond our sense of doership. And using the new blanket as a feedback device, just bring awareness to the rib cage and notice how it gently expands to accommodate the breath. And notice that sense of not just the expansion on the front and the back, but the side to side expansion. Like you're taking up more space on that blanket roll as you inhale. And then a little less space as you exhale. And we'll just take a few more breaths on our own to explore this. If you're following along with the musical playlist, you can hit play on the first track and make sure it's set to loop. And then when you're ready to move, the left arm extends, right hand comes underneath the right shoulder. Gently push into the right hand so you roll onto the left side, staying on that blanket. Relax the head onto the bicep, and we're using the blanket to gently massage between the ribs. And so we do this side lying massage a lot without the blanket. And so this might be familiar, this gentle rocking forward, rocking back. And I invite you to wiggle around a little bit. You might enjoy placing the blanket a little higher, a little lower, or just notice what it feels like right where you are. And then the massage happens from the blanket pushing on the outside, but also from the breath pushing from the inside. So continue to witness the breath. Be really gentle here. We're not trying to push the blanket into the soft tissue between the ribs, but rather just letting our weight naturally apply the pressure as gravity acts on the body. And if you want to try scooching up or down to massage one other spot while we're here, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. Scooching up can feel good as it will allow you to massage your shoulder a little bit. Yeah. And then straighten the legs, flex the feet, lift the arm towards the sky, and it might actually feel like a little bit trickier to balance, and we want that. We want our core to start naturally engaging to support us. Use your next inhale to push down into the bottom leg and let the top leg get weightless. And then as you exhale, naturally lower the top leg. Let the strength of the legs coming together help the spine lift, and we'll pulse between those two shapes. So the inhale floats the top leg and arm, and the exhale releases arm and leg as the body starts to hover. Start to notice the sensation of the exhale where the feet and legs are coming together. On this motion, the pelvic floor and the diaphragm are gently lifting, and that's what allows us to get that nice easy lift through the spine, head, neck, shoulders. Maybe you can start to feel how all of that is connected. The next time you're lifting the head, pause there. Notice any wobbles, or maybe not. We've done this for a few weeks, so maybe you're getting more solid here. Keep all the strength that it takes to balance here. Just release the head. Bring the hand to the hip. You can bring it in front of you if you need more balance. And then bend the top knee. Keep the pelvis right where it is. That's why our hand is there. Start to circle just the top knee, and it should feel like, whoa, I can't go very far because I'll lose my balance. And that's good. That's turning on your stabilization muscles, and that's what we want to do. Circle the other way. Make sure you're breathing. If you have practiced the sequence with me before, notice if this is starting to feel easier or smoother. The next time the knee lifts, step the foot in front of you, keeping the knee bent, and slowly, with control, let the knee start to slide open so you roll onto your belly. If it doesn't feel good to have the leg out, just keep more weight in the left side of the body. Push down into the left leg to gently guide the right knee back in. You can use the hand for support if it feels like too much pressure in the knee. Keep that opening going and allow the heart to face the ceiling. Allow the top arm to circle behind you if you have enough room. And then we'll repeat that. So the hand comes in front. Gently start to slide open. That can be on an inhale if you want to sync it with your breath. And then use the exhale to push down into the left knee, maybe down into the right hand, gently letting the lift of the pelvic floor help guide the thighs back together and help lengthen the spine into that open spiraling movement. Take a couple more on your own, moving at a pace that feels useful to you, and give yourself permission at any time to adjust where you are on your blanket roll or not. And the next time you roll onto your belly, pause there. Option to keep the knee open, or you can extend the leg straight behind you if it's too much hip opening and it doesn't feel comfortable. You can try tucking your right big toe into the earth and gently pushing into the big toe to stimulate a little more support on the leg and the hip socket. And then let's all slide the right leg back to meet the left and pause at center. Do whatever's comfortable with the arms. Come back to the breath. Perhaps you notice an asymmetry. Perhaps you just enjoy stillness. And we'll do that same sequence on the second side, and you'll be facing away from me, but it'll be all the same stuff that we just did. So we'll begin by sliding the left hand back and gently rolling now onto the right side. Bend the knees any amount that allows you to relax here. And then ever so gently melt the body forward. Melt the body back, moving slower than you think you should. Maybe even slower than you think you can. Slower movements take more consciousness and more control. Try to feel the breath. Feel the intersection between breath, rib cage, massage blanket. And see if you can let something go in this moment. The more we can let go of our thoughts, the more we can let go of our tension, the more space we have to absorb the energy that's always available, but today the extra special energy from our lineage teacher, Rudi. And come to center, extend the legs and flex the feet. Start to play with lifting the top arm and notice if it makes it a little trickier to balance. And then lift the top leg. As you exhale, slowly lower the arm and leg. The arm can either rest on the body or it can come in front of you, whatever feels good. Let the head hover. And then inhale, release head, float the top leg. Exhale, lower the leg, lift the head, and take a few of these slow seesaw-like movements, really trying to feel how the legs coming together and the exhale is what allows you to lengthen the spine effortlessly. They're not happening separately. There's a cause and effect. It's kind of like a wave traveling through the body, and the wave starts down at the feet and ripples up to the hips, and then one vertebra at a time, and the crest of the wave is the crown of your head. And the next time the body lifts, pause there. Keep the strength that has naturally ignited and just rest the head down, hand to pelvis. Bend the top knee and start to make your little tiny knee circles. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely feeling a shakiness and an unsteadiness because it's kind of like balancing on a balance beam, right? The right side of your body right now is your balance beam. Less is more, and notice the warmth that's starting to emanate perhaps in the left hip. And then place the left knee in front of you, and on your next inhale, let the left knee slowly slide open so that the heart and the belly button start to point towards your blanket. The left hand can support you and take some weight out of that left knee if it feels sensitive. And then with your exhale, push down into the right leg and allow that action to slide the left knee back in where it came from. Keep that action going, letting the spine spiral the heart open. Circle the left arm up and overhead, maybe behind you. Just don't overdo it in the shoulder. And then play between those two movements, the inhaling towards a fallen tree-like movement. And the exhaling for our side-lying spiral. And as you pulse between these shapes, just notice that quality of the inhale pushing diaphragm and pelvic floor down, and the exhaling gently drawing everything up, and how it almost like ties or knits the body back together. And again, we're not making it happen. We don't ever want gripping or over controlling in the diaphragm and pelvic floor. It's almost like the muscles of the heart, where we want them to just do their work naturally beyond our conscious control. And the next time you open, you can pause there. If it's comfortable, leave the leg where it is. Otherwise, shoot the left foot straight back. Take a couple of breaths. And then we'll all send the left leg back, meeting on our belly. One final thing before we head to the next section of our class. Let's bring hands underneath shoulders. It's okay if the wrists are slightly on the prop, depending on where you're lined up. Inhale, allow the feet to slide wide on your blanket. And as you exhale, gently guide the feet back together. Notice that lift through diaphragm and pelvic floor and wave the spine up effortlessly, kind of like we did on our side. Take a few pulses like that, inhaling, letting the feet open, and exhaling to ignite that wave-like action from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. Let it be as effortless as possible. Effortless means usually, at least in my body, that my whole body is working together, so not one muscle is being overtaxed. And it feels easier, but really it's very integrated, very strong, very sustainable, very efficient. The next time you lift, if it feels comfortable, you can stay lifted and take a couple of sways. If you feel sticky or tight as you sway from side to side, it means maybe you've lifted a little too high. So this is just a nice test. You can play with floating a little lower, feel if there's a little more ease. And then place your hands on your blanket and push into them to send the hips all the way back to the heels. The hands can stay on the blanket if that feels cozy. Otherwise, they can slide off. It really doesn't matter. Take a pause in Bhaktasana. And then push down into the knees. Let the hips stay heavy and walk your hands in towards the knees so you're seated on your heels. You can turn 3/4 towards me just so that you can see this next movement, and then turn back to your yoga mat in a moment. So we're going to continue with our arm gesture of gathering energy and offering it up. And we'll come back to this several times throughout class. So the gathering is a big circle on the inhale, and you can imagine you're just like drawing in all the good energy around you. And then as you exhale, there's that gentle squeeze as the legs draw together, and it allows you to roll all the way up. And this is that offering motion as we let the contents of our heart shine upward to our highest self. So try a couple of those, syncing them with your breath, nice and smooth. It doesn't matter how low you get to the earth, so it's okay if you're quite high, folding forward, whatever feels really fluid, just like those waving actions that we've been doing. And make sure this is more in your legs and your spine, and the arms are just following, right? So you don't want to feel any tightness in the muscles of the neck or the top of the shoulders. Maybe that means the arms don't lift as high. Maybe they're not as straight. That's great. Let it be organic. And the next time you come up, pause there. Option to grab an additional blanket because we are going to be doing some kneeling stuff for a little bit of time. So it can be nice to have that support. You could also, if you only have the rolled up blanket, you could use that as well. It just might take a little extra balance. Before we begin our sequence, feel free to grab a sip of water. And then we'll be traveling to the next track in our musical playlist. So I'm going to stay turned towards you because I think it'll give you more information about the movements, but feel free to stay on your mat, especially if it's more comfortable. At this point, we can place the blanket over to the side, out of the way. We're not using it in this part of the sequence, unless you're inspired, and then you can certainly do that. And we'll meet in tabletop, just pawing out the hands. And in all of our tabletop positioning, you can be on forearms. I'm talking to you, Charlotte, but anyone can be anyone can be on forearms. There's lovely benefits for all of us. So take a moment to tune into what would feel kindest and most useful to your body. And then pause at center and play with finding a neutral spine, which can be hard, so it's okay if you're not sure, but tip the pelvis forward, tip it back, and then kind of like Goldilocks, trying to find that like just right positioning where it's not tipped forward or back. Once you think you've found your neutral, pause there and start to glide the right foot straight back without moving the rest of your body. And then bring it in and take a few of those pulses. And the next time the leg is back, very similar, without moving anything in your body, play with lifting the leg. You should not feel this in your low back at all. If you are, it means you're overcompensating. We really want the glutes to be doing the lift, and you don't have to micromanage that, but just prevent the rest of the body from moving, and the glutes will have to fire to lift the leg. The next time the leg lifts, bend the right knee, just like we did on our side. Start to circle the knee. Oh, actually, we're going to change this one up. We're going to draw figure 8. So let the right knee come towards right wrist, left wrist, then cross the body out and back wide, and then circle to the midline and over to the left. It's okay if your figure 8 looks different than mine. And then the trick here is to not move the pelvis. You'll know you're doing it right because your left glute, that's the one of the standing knee, the unmoving knee, should start to warm. That's a good sign. Make sure you're breathing, make sure you're relaxed. And let's kick the foot off to the side. Mine landed on my blanket, and that's okay, but it doesn't have to. So line the right foot up with the left knee and just gently tip the hips back towards the heel. Take a few rocks here, just lengthening through the inside of the right leg. You don't want to feel it at the knee joint. If you are feeling that, push down into the left knee a little extra and isometrically drag the right leg in. So there's a little more activation on the inner right thigh. Oh, okay, now my favorite part of this sequence, we're going to slide the leg out, kind of like you're doing the middle splits, but not very far, but that action of sliding it over to the right. And then as you exhale, slide the foot back in. If your foot is not on a blanket and it's on a wood floor, you could grab a sock. That would be really cool. But if your foot slides, you don't have to do any of that. And start to sync it with the breath. So the inhale lets the foot slide and the exhale draws it back. And for me, the most interesting thing here is starting to notice how the drawing it back in towards the midline allows you to have more strength and support all the way up the spine. So it's not just about the pelvis, it's not just about the pelvic floor, to really how the legs integrate into the core all the way up the spine. The next time the leg draws in, we'll use that energy to rise all the way up. So push down into the left knee, gather like we practiced, and then offer up. And we'll put this all together and I'll show you how. So with the inhale, hands down, leg slides out. And then with the exhale, drag the foot in, push down into the knee, and rise all the way up. And move at your own pace. Feel free to pause in either of those places, but start to notice how the sliding in of the leg can be connected to that waving motion of the spine, right? They're not happening separately. The next time you rise up, pause there, and keeping all that strength in your core, just start to explore all directions. And that doesn't mean reaching far, right? It just means having a nice smooth variability in the angle that you're reaching towards. Circle the other way. And then bring the hands down, bring the right leg in, and this is optional, but I was having fun with using my blanket over my calves as I came into Bhaktasana, so feel free to try that. It just pitches the hips a little higher in the air, and I found that it was enjoyable. Take a couple of breaths here and see if you can witness the sensation of the breath. And just try to let go of anything that's bubbling up in the mind or even in the body. And let yourself be receptive. And then we'll float back up to table. Can move your extra blanket out of the way. Keep your knee blanket though. On hands or forearms, it's up to you. We'll find a steady table and then glide the left leg back. Just try that a couple of times to test that your body's unwavering as the left leg glides. And then the next time it's back, we play with lifting the left leg. And there's a tendency for a lot of people to arch the low back here and avoid firing the glutes. So less is more. Maybe the foot doesn't lift very high, but you can feel the muscles on the back of the left hip working. That's great. I would say that's a great success. The next time the leg lifts, bend the knee, and we do our figure 8. So first opposite, or knee to opposite wrist, and then a big arc to same side wrist, and then it crosses the midline for the back half of the figure 8. And same thing, try to remain unmoving in the rest of the body. It doesn't matter how far the knee and hip rotation go. We're working on stabilization, and when these muscles get stronger, then our range of motion increases in a safe and healthy way. One more, figure 8. Make sure you're breathing. Try to keep the spine long. Kick the foot off to the left so the arch of the foot lines up with the right knee, and then just gentle forward and back rocks. And as you rock back, try to keep the spine neutral. There's a tendency to round the spine here. And the work we're doing right now is more for the legs, so we'll maintain that nice neutral spine. And then we can play with our leg slides. So the foot slides away from us. It doesn't have to go far. And then as you exhale, push down into the right shin so you can glide the left foot back towards the midline. Play with that. It's kind of like a zipping up action, like you're zipping your legs back together. And then imagine, or maybe you can even feel how that zipping can travel all the way up the spine. I literally feel my torso get slightly narrower just by doing this with my legs. Sometimes I can even feel like, oh, I can lengthen the crown of my head forward effortlessly. My spine has more space. And then we'll add in the next part of the sequence. So as the foot glides in, push down into the right knee and slowly rise up, that big circling action, and then the offering up. And then we'll put it all together. So the hands come down, inhale, the foot slides out. And then exhale, draw the foot in, ride that wave all the way up. And play with this on your own, moving at your own pace, moving as slow or smoothly as possible. And try to feel how the impulse really begins with that action of the foot sliding in, and then everything else progresses from there. The next time we're up, we can pause there and keep that strength as we start to circle. And notice how your circle might feel more centered. Maybe you notice there's not an urge to reach so far because of all the almost like pulling to the midline action we've been doing. And circle the other way. And then bring the left knee underneath you. Two options: you can pause at center and sit upright. You can take another Bhaktasana. Feel free to use your prop. We'll have just a few breaths to rest before we move on to the next part of our sequence. If you're in Bhaktasana, it can be nice to flip the palms face up and just imagine this receptive gesture emanating from your heart. This ability to be open and take in energy. And push down into the shins. Slowly rise up. Let's take one big circle, gathering energy, and then push down into the knees and let the arms unravel upward, and then tuck the toes under. Bring the hips back, hands down, hover the knees. We're coming into a forward fold, so if this transition isn't comfortable, you can just meet standing or in a forward fold. You can slide your blanket forward, lift the hips, and then let the weight rock back into the heels, but keep the big toes down. Bend the knees generously. Take a few forward and back rocks on the feet. And the next time the weight rocks back, let the sits bones get really heavy, push down into the feet, and slowly rise up to standing. Nice. Move your kneeling blanket out of the way if you were using it. If you're a little OCD and your blanket is crumpled and you want to fix it, that's okay. And then come to face me. Satyam, will you just tip the camera up because my head's cut off? And we're going to do that gathering and offering up action from a forward fold. So let's start by anchoring our big toes and rocking our weight back on the heels. And as you rock back, you might notice that it's a little harder to keep the big toe down. And just play with that until you find a balance where there's no strain and the foot is active and you feel anchored in the heel. Bend the knees a little bit, bounce, making sure the joints are supple and supported, and then lift the arms and drape the body over the legs. I'm turning just so you can see the bend in my legs. So send the hips back just a little bit. The first part of the action is the circle in front, and then you'll push down into the feet to rise up. So I went a little too far the first time. So the inhale is bending the knees, circling forward. And remember, you don't want tightness here. So let this circle come from almost like your bat wings opening underneath your triceps. I like to think of myself like a flying squirrel as my arms circle forward, and there's just like these big wings underneath my arms. Oh, my arm just got a nice pop. I hope some of you are getting nice adjustments as well. We'll do one more. And then pause in that upward positioning and imagine yourself like a pipeline. There's an empty vessel through which energy can travel. And let your awareness drop into your heart and just imagine all of the energy available to you in this moment. Just imagine it traveling through this pipeline completely unencumbered. And then gently melt the arms down so they come to rest at your sides. Okay, we can go to the third musical track. Feel free to grab another sip of water or just stand there and breathe. And by just, I mean that's like the highest thing that you could be doing. So, totally optional. You have this rolled up blanket. It's sort of fun to play with our sequence on the blanket. It's going to make it trickier, right? It's sort of going to make it like an extra balance challenge. And then we'll have the option to step off the blanket and feel like so solid on the earth. You totally don't have to do that. The sequence works without the blanket. So if it's frustrating, don't do it, but you're welcome to try. And we'll start with a little foot massaging. So place the balls of your feet on the blanket so the heels are down on the ground behind you, and just shift the weight from foot to foot. And you can actually walk the feet forward a little bit so the blanket goes more in the arch of the foot. You can walk the feet back. Make sure your knees aren't hyperextending. So if you're feeling pressure in the knee joint, maybe your blanket's a little too high and it's flexing your foot too much, in which case you can unroll it a little bit or come back off of it slightly. And then step up onto your blanket. So it means your toes might be wiggling off the front edge, and keep that rocking motion going. Start to feel the outer edge of the foot. Feel the almost more like vacuous space where the arch of the foot is starting to smush down into the blanket. And then shift the weight into the right foot. Can you go to the right knee slightly and glide the left foot behind you for a curtsy? So a couple of options here. There's no right or wrong. The front foot can go wherever you want on the blanket. If you put the toes on the blanket, you're going to get a little bit of a calf stretch. So feel free to try that, but there's benefits to having the foot in all different places. So you can experiment. We'll be repeating these movements several times. Bend the front knee equal weight in both feet and take a nice side bend to the right for our curtsy lunge. And then shift the weight into the front foot. This might be humbling. Start to hover the back foot, and then we go back. If you want to add the arms in, I find it fun to pull my arms down as I pull my leg up. And let there be as much lightness in lifting the left foot as possible. You definitely don't want to feel it in your hip flexors unless that feels really good to you, but that doesn't feel great to me. You almost want to feel like the lifting is coming from a lightness in the pelvis. The next time you come back into the curtsy lunge, pause there, adjust the foot a little bit. Maybe it's getting tired from whatever angle it's on the blanket. I'm going to demo the next thing. Instead of going into tree, we're going to go through tree, stepping the foot out right into a pretty short Vira-2. The reason I say short is because naturally where the foot's going is probably shorter than what you would choose, but boy, is it a lovely setup for Vira-2. So you just go with it. And we'll repeat it again. So shift the weight into the right, glide the left foot back, push into the right foot to step your foot into Vira-2. For me, it is landing on my balance beam, so that's kind of fun. And it's actually a great indicator, right? Because you want the heel lining up with where the foot is landing on the blanket in the other side. The next time you're in Vira-2, pause there and start to wave the spine from side to side. But like we've been practicing, imagine or feel that action coming from the feet. So you push a little extra into the left foot and notice how it sends the spine to the right, and then vice versa. And the next time you're swaying to the left, put your weight into your left foot and drag the right foot in, letting it hover. And what I'm really interested in here is you noticing how the inner thighs and the pelvic floor and the whole rest of the core can help you do that action of lifting the back leg. So try that a couple of times. Make sure to keep the left heel down. We don't want any pressure in the left knee. If it's frustrating or too hard on the balance beam, you can totally step off, but wobbles are fine. They're helping more muscles turn on to support you. And the next time you're up, feel free to pause there for 1 or 2 breaths. I really like reaching my left hand away from my right foot to get a little extra length. And then set the right foot down. Turn all 10 toes forward. Bend the right knee and bring your hands onto the right thigh. Just take a couple rolls forward and back, kind of like we did in Parigasana at the beginning. And as you do this, try to feel how the 2 legs are related. See if you can even have equal weight in both feet, even though your torso is tilted to the right. Use the breath. Be aware of, again, the pelvic floor and the diaphragm, and the softening on the inhale, and that gentle lifting on the exhale. And then push into the feet and slowly rise up. And even though you're reaching outward, see if you can use the breath to still feel very connected and intertwined at your center. Let's heel toe the feet together, getting a little massage on the blanket. And let's just take one gather moment, bending the knees, circling the arms forward. Remember, keep it out of the shoulders. It's more in the lats. And then push down into the heels to slowly rise up. Pause in your pipeline, your energetic pipeline. And then melt the arms down, and we'll go through that same sequence on the second side. So let's start just by shifting weight from foot to foot. And give yourself permission to adjust where your feet are landing on the blanket. It's going to change what muscles get massaged in your foot. And then as the weight shifts over to the left foot, pause there, bend the left knee, and glide the right foot behind you any amount. It doesn't have to go far. Take a nice side bend over to the left. And then play with pushing down into the left foot to hover the right leg. Not even like a tree pose, just almost like weightless. Nice catch, Dana. That looks beautiful. Step the foot behind you. And just start to gently shift from side to side, from curtsy lunge, floating tree. And then the next time you come into your curtsy, we'll go through floating tree all the way out to our Vira 2. I do like to have my back foot come in slightly there, so feel free to adjust the left toes and then play between the curtsy and the Vira 2. You can move the blanket at any time. We'll take one more and meet in our Virabhadrasana 2. Make any adjustments with where your feet are on your balance beam. And then push into one foot, letting the whole body sway. Push into the other, sway the other way. And see how easy and effortless you can make this. And the next time you sway to the right, shift the weight into the right and use your exhale to hover the back foot and try to feel that drawing together, letting the spine lengthen. Don't worry about tipping forward. And then set the foot down on an inhale. And then the exhale to launch. You can do whatever feels natural with your arms. Find a drishti, a steady gaze point, and this is just the warm-up, right? We're going to get off of our balance beam, and then it'll be pretty interesting to compare. So be patient, be compassionate, less is more. The next time you come into our Urdhva Chandrasana prep pose, feel free to stay there. Feel free to reach the right arm forward. And then we'll all set the left foot down, turn all 10 toes to the side, bend the left knee, hands to the thigh, and just take some gentle forward and back rocks. You can adjust where the feet are. It's going to feel differently if the toes are up or if the heels are up or the arches, so you can explore that. And then push into the left foot, letting the limbs reach out, but let your breath tie the limbs back into the center. Release the arms down. Heel toe the feet back in underneath you. Pause for one last moment on the blanket. And then if you have been on a blanket, this is sort of a fun moment. Step forward off of the blanket and just notice what it feels like to land on solid ground. You can close the eyes and just drop into the breath. And then move your blanket over to the side. And we're just going to do that sequence one time on each side. We're not going to do repetitions. It's just going to be one flowing version so you can just see how it feels with a little extra stability. So we'll begin with feet together and bending the knees, gathering energy, and then offering it up. And try to feel the feet almost like plugging in to the earth and how spacious you can be in this moment. And then shift the weight from foot to foot, just so you can step the feet a little wider out. And then as you shift to the right, bend the right knee, glide the left foot behind you. Equal weight in both feet, side bend to the right. And then push down into the right foot. Use your exhale to float that leg naturally. And then we'll inhale back into our curtsy. We'll exhale all the way through to Vira 2. And you can always change up the breath. There's no right or wrong. That's just what I was enjoying with the lift of the diaphragm on the exhale. Next, inhale and exhale, play with swaying from side to side. And then inhale to shift over to the right. And use your exhale to slowly lift from the feet all the way up. And see if you can feel that buoyancy through the base of the pelvis. Find your drishti. Option to reach the left arm forward. Option to bend the left knee a little bit more. And see if you can feel the reach from the right foot kicking back all the way through the spine to the left hand. Right hand can do whatever feels good. Wow, nice job, everybody. I don't want to take you out of it, but if you feel ready to come out of it, let the right foot land. And on this side, yeah, exactly, Dana. Let's do a nice reverse warrior. I know that's not what we did on the first side, but it was needed. Can be fun to bend the left knee a little extra here, just so you feel that little tug of war through the left side of the body. And then straighten the left leg. Turn the toes forward, and just for one moment, bend the right knee and reach over to the right, especially with the left hand. And then push into both feet, coming up to star. Nice soft shoulders and elbows. And heel toe the feet in, nice and slow. There really are benefits to the heel toe, and you also just look really cool doing it, especially with these arms. And then relax for one moment at center before we do the second side. And when you're ready to begin, you can paw out the feet so they're underneath your hips. Bend the knees lightly, and then big but soft circle as you inhale. Exhale, push down into the feet. Send that wave all the way up through the spine, and pause as this conduit for a moment. And then start to shift the weight from foot to foot. The next time the weight comes into the left foot, bend the left knee, drag the right foot behind you, and then bring equal weight into both feet so the pelvis can level. Gently bend the left knee and sway to the right, curtsy lunge, and then push into the left foot, weightless tree. Back to your curtsy lunge, full natural breath in, everything gently drops. And then as you exhale, step out and notice that sense of lift on the exhale, how it keeps everything intertwined, even though you're stepping outward. Couple of sways. And the next time you sway to the right, shift the weight into the right foot. And as you exhale, start to drag the left foot in and up. Start to reach the right arm forward, left leg back, bend the right knee. Stay here as long as you want, or take a couple of pulses, bringing the back foot down. Just notice after all that work on our cushy balance beam if this feels a little more stable. And then whenever you're ready to lower the back foot, no rush, but we'll bend the right knee, add in that nice reverse warrior or anything else the body's craving. And then all 10 toes towards me. Bend the left knee and reach the right arm, the right arm over to the left. Press into the left foot and reach everything out. Relax the arms down. And twice as slow as you did before, heel toe the feet in. And try to feel the sense of massage happening as the femur internally rotates in the hip sockets. And then eventually, when the feet land underneath the hips, let the tailbone be heavy. Bend the knees a little bit just so you feel spacious through all the joints. And then if the legs want to extend, that's fine. And just take a few natural breaths and see if you can observe the movement of the areas of the breath that we've been focusing on. And even though it's not a graceful transition, what my body wants to do is it literally just wants to come down to kneeling. If there's anything that you would like to add in, you're more than welcome to. And then take a moment here, again, just to feel that inhale, gentle push down. Exhale, ever so gentle lift up. Can go to the next musical track. It'll be a little mellower. And before our restorative pose, we'll do some nice easy twists. And I wanted to specifically do these because we did so much reaching out kind of things. These help me feel like everything almost like encircling my spine and tying everything back to center. So shift the hips over to the left. And as you breathe, just notice if that exhale action is ever so gently providing the stability of the legs drawing towards one another. And you can use that stability to rotate over to the left. And just take a few breaths like that to notice how the work we've been doing applies to your twist. Maybe you can feel the strength of the exhale and how it might allow for some more space to lengthen the spine, but also to rotate it. Gently untwist and place the sole of the right foot to the earth. You can cross it over the left knee. I love this variation. And I think this is a good variation for you too, Dana. And then left hand to right knee, and same action. Use your exhale to just notice how the legs can intertwine and support the spine. You can still work with the inhale too, but I find that with the pelvic floor, the exhale, there really is a sense of integration that's palpable. And then gently untwist and tuck the right foot back in. We'll come through center and then let the hips melt over to the other side. So same idea, just nice easy twist over to the right, but try to feel your breath and let the breath help you notice what has woken up during class. And maybe it's just more awareness or curiosity. It's okay if you're not feeling anything distinct. And when you're ready for the next movement, the sole of the left foot comes to the earth, and then you gently twist to the left. And for the last couple of breaths, notice if the consciousness that you have of the core allows you to get a little length all the way up, even through the neck. Maybe the chin tucks a little bit and you feel that spaciousness between the occiput, the ridge at the base of the skull, and the top cervical vertebra. You can breathe into that if it feels good. And then gently untwist and stack the top leg, and can come back to kneeling one last time just to have something symmetrical, an observation point. If this isn't a comfortable seat for you, feel free to sit anyway that's comfortable. Just take a couple more moments to observe the breath. And again, notice any sense of receptivity, your ability to receive the energy that's available when we practice together, and then of course during special holidays. For our restorative pose, this is totally up to you, but you can use a chair to do a modified version of legs up the wall. You could also use a couch or a bed or anything that is nearby. You could also use like a couch cushion and not have the legs so high. That's what we've been doing the past couple weeks. But because we had so many blankets, I didn't want to make you make a big stack of blankets. So take a moment to grab whatever would be comfortable. A strap will be handy if you have one, but it's not required. If you do have the patience to fold up your blanket, it can be nice to have the hips slightly elevated. In which case you would put your blanket at the base of the chair. Before we start to recline, you're welcome to dim the lights. You're welcome to grab a sweatshirt. Your body temperature will drop while we're resting. So anything, socks, pause your music, drink your water. And as you're ready, you can slide the feet and legs up onto your pedestal. The reason we have the strap is because you might not feel it, but there is a subtle work that the inner thighs are doing to prevent the legs from falling outward. So we'll make a loop in the strap. Hopefully you know how to do that because it is a little bit tricky. And then place the feet through the loop. I like to make sure the loop makes it above my knees, and then put the calves back down. Make sure your surface isn't too hard. Like I have this nice cushion. In fact, I just slid the cushion over the corner of the chair, and that was a big game changer. Konalani friends, you're welcome to use those couches. And then depending on the length of your femur, you might feel like it's more comfortable to lift the hips a little higher, that is going to create a little bit of spinal extension. And take your time. If you rush into a restorative pose, you don't quite get the same benefits. So make little adjustments, wiggle around, try a couple of things until there's that moment of like, yes, I could really get into this. And then we start to find that stillness. Try closing the mouth and letting the tongue gently rest on the roof of the mouth so you can breathe freely through the nose. And you've done so much over the past hour to generate focus and create inner space. And so now as we rest here, we really are receptive. We really have the ability to soak in all of the energy that's available. And you don't have to do anything. It's the not doing that really allows for the Shakti to start to travel through us beyond our mind. And so let yourself be relaxed and spacious. And we'll rest here for about 10 minutes. And if at any point you would like to scooch away from your props and take a normal Shavasana, that's absolutely fine. Let yourself just be. And usually in this post-Shavasana space, we have separation from our mind and whatever tight spots we have inside. And just let yourself exist in that more spacious state. Notice any sense of joy or freedom that naturally bubbles up from this state. And those are definitely two of the first qualities that come to mind when I think of Rudi. He really taught us how to use our lives to become more free. And from what he displayed, this is a very joyous and sweet way to live. And so staying connected to that part of yourself, you can make any gentle movements. We are in a gentle hip flexion, so as you eventually make your way out of the bind and away from the chair, you're welcome to extend the hips. That would be something like a gentle bridge pose, but you can do anything that the body is craving. And take your time and really try to be present with where you are right now. Sometimes we're already directing our focus at sitting upright, but maybe you're still on your back, and let yourself be there. And then on your side, and just be there each step of the way. And eventually come upright and support your seat. And we will be chanting in honor of Rudi. The words are on the screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudranandaya. And it's okay if you don't feel a connection to Rudi or you don't know much about him. Really what this chant is for and what you can feel as you chant is any gratitude you have for the ashram or the practices that we learn here. So many of them have been given to us by Rudi. Our special enjoyment of having really good food, we can thank Rudi for that. And so as you do this chant, any connection you have to this yoga practice, this meditation practice, this ashram, is really what we're sending gratitude towards. So whenever you're ready, you can join in or just enjoy. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudranandaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudranandaya. Om Namo Bhagavate can let yourself soften and relax, and sometimes chanting can create an openness or even a sensation of being energized. And see if you can connect to the part of you that's even more spacious than what you're feeling. And let your focus drop deep, deep, deep down inside of the heart. And feel the spark inside of your heart that hungers to grow spiritually. It's the part of you that guides you to this class and guided you to Konalani to begin with, and keeps you seeking and working and growing. And Rudi called this the wish to grow. And he said it was the most powerful force in the entire universe. And so as we celebrate Rudi today, let's take a few minutes to connect with that part of ourselves, the most powerful force inside of us that propels us forward on this challenging yet so rewarding path. I think sometimes we can generate tension when we work with the wish to grow. It's like too much effort. And so I invite you to step in that space that we explored through class, that becoming a conduit, that huge pipeline for energy. And it's kind of like that, being so open and spacious that an enormous quantity of energy, that's what Rudi would say, enormous quantity of energy can travel through your system. And so you don't have to do it. Just let yourself be relaxed as you connect to that part of you that wants to be happy and free. Namaste. Happy Chinese New Year. Happy Rudi's birthday. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day and week. And if you have time today, it's a great day to do the gratitude practice. We don't have more time together, but that can be a good thing for you to do at some point on your own. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, see you soon.